Hey everyone, welcome back to Stamp with Anna, and today I have another card that I'm using as my January thank you cards to my customers. And I am continuing to make cards that are specific for each customer. So what I mean is if they ordered a certain product that I have, I made them a thank you card using that product so that they have a little bit of inspiration when the product arrives to them. This particular customer in her order had the best plaid builder die, which is this die here. And I'm glad somebody ordered this because I've had this for quite a few months and I haven't done a thing with it. So this forced me into using it. And she also ordered the Tasteful Labels dies, which is this set here. And I've used this a few times, not that many, but I do like this little flag, and that's what I'm going to use for this card. So this card kind of got away from me. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do this and the limitations of getting everything lined up just right. So it did take me a bit, and I hope it comes through as kind of smooth in this video. So rather than give you a long list of what I'm using ahead of time, I will just tell you what I'm using when I get to that point. I will tell you that our card colors are Coastal Cabana and Granny Apple Green. And our base of the card is Coastal Cabana. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So the first thing I need to do is cut my die, my plaid dies. And these are the two dies that I'm using. And this one here is going to be in Granny Apple Green to make this outside. And this one here I'm going to cut in Coastal Cabana to make the inside plaids. So I'm going to bring up my Big Shot, and I'm going to do this with you. I have cut my papers larger than what I want them to be. So I've cut each piece of cardstock into 4s. So this piece here is 1/4 of a sheet. It is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to put I always put my die faced cut side down to cut, but this time I really do want to line it up so it's exactly where I want it to be. So I'm going to cut face up. So there's my magnetic platform, my acrylic plate, my die, and then I'm going to put my piece of cardstock here. And it's just a tiny bit smaller than the die, but I do want to center it up so that I have the best chance of getting an equal design in my project. So I'm going to run it through. And when I take it apart, I have all these great squares that I am going to save. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I'm going to save them. So there is, just move these out of my way for now. And that is what I ended up with. So I'm going to put that aside. Now the next one I'm going to cut is this intricate one. So to do that, I'm going to bring in my precision plate, simply because there are a lot of pieces there. So I'm going to put my precision plate down, and then I'm going to put this die down. And I'm going to do the same thing and cut, cutting side up. And I'm going to place this here. Now, side to side, it's just about the 4 1/4. So it's more the top and the bottom that I need to try to get even. And if it's not entirely even, that's okay. So now I'm going to put an acrylic plate on, and I'm going to run this through. I can see that it shifted. Hold on one second. Okay. I'm going to run that through. Now, even though there are all those little slots in this, it does come apart fairly nicely. I'm going to move my die out of the way. And here is my piece. I'm going to bring in my container where I gather all of my my cut pieces. I'm going to put that right in here. I'm going to move my machine out of the way. And like I said, most of these come right out. So I have one of my brushes here. I'm just going to run this over. And you'll see that most of them just pop right out. And for the couple that don't, I had my, here it is, my Pierce tool. I'm just going to pop them out. And you can see they just need a little nudge to get out. Okay, so I have them all out. Oh, I got one little one right here I want to get out. And there they are. Now this is where it kind of got away from me. I am pretty particular. I wanted to make sure that these crosses were dead center in all of these. So that's where I got hung up. That's maybe part of my OCD. So what I did was I brought this in and I tipped it upside down. So I'm working from the back side. And I lined this up so that my crosses were right in the center. And holding it in place, I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but this is the way I got around it. Holding this in place, I just went around the edge and put a dot of liquid glue on these pieces right here. Just to hold it in place. And I'm using my silicone pad because nothing sticks to the silicone pad. Okay? And I'm going to swing it around. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And it's just a tiny bit of glue, as you can see, because I just want to hold it in place. Okay? Now, I have a piece of white that is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to mount this onto that white. And this is where I want everything to be lined up. So, I see that I have, about a 1/16 of an inch on either side, and I'm good with that. So now I'm going to tip this over again. I'm going to straighten this out. And I'm going to come in here on these corners and put some liquid glue. And that's going to hold that down. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. And while I have it exposed, I'm going to do the other sides as well. And now I'm going to press. Now this should be as close to centered as possible. And here is my, I'm going to end up with using this 4 by 5 1/4 piece, but I have all these pieces left over. So I can either come in with a pair of scissors and trim that all off, or I can run that through my, my paper trimmer. If you run it through a paper trimmer, the one thing you have to remember is that you're going through a few pieces of cardstock, so you do need to have a good sharp blade. A guillotine, I have a guillotine that I used because I cut so many papers for my classes. So I could use the guillotine, but I'm just going to trim it with my scissors for now. And I turn it backwards, upside down, so that I can use this white piece as my my guide. All right, so there is my card front. Now, I'm going to use some ribbon, and I have this ribbon in my stash. It's Granny Apple Green on one side, and it's Coastal Cabana on the other side. And when I tie this, I want to bring out both sides. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut myself a nice generous piece, and I'm going to come right around this second row here, and I'm going to tie a knot. And when I tie my knot, I want the Coastal Cabana side to be on the outside, and you can see the Coastal Cabana is on the outside. And when I make my knot, I'm going to maneuver my ribbon so that the Granny Apple Green side comes through. Okay. So I'm going to bring this over this way. Keep that Granny Apple Green part down. I'm going to press, and as I tighten on this side, I'm also going to tug. And see, now I have Coastal Cabana showing on the outside, Coastal Cabana knot, but Granny Apple Green, and I thought that added a nice touch to my card. And now I'm going to trim my tails. Geez, this is already working quicker than than it did when I was making it. So now I have another piece of white, and this one measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And now I'm going to mat this on this, and I'm using liquid glue so that I have a little bit of time to move my cardstock around. And the reason I did it this way is because I wanted to have that mat, and I wanted it used a lot of paper, is what I'm trying to say, but I wanted these two die cut pieces to be on a sturdy surface, on a sturdy cardstock. So that's why I put them on that smaller sheet of white first. Now this one here, I can see it's not cut perfectly, but that's okay. Now I'm going to attach this to my card base. And that way I have a nice little white border all around. Now, if I see any little pieces here that look like they're going to come up, like you see that right there, I'm just going to go around with a little bit of liquid glue and secure that down. And I'll do that afterwards. I'm not going to bother to show you all that. So there's that. Now the other item that this woman bought was the what did I say it was? The Stitched So Sweetly. Nope, the Tasteful Labels. And I'm using this tiny die. So I have a piece of scrap Whisper White, and using Coastal Cabana, I'm going to use this stamp set is called A Wish for Everything, and I'm just taking words from there's a two-pack set. I'm taking words from both packs, and I'm making myself a sentiment. So I have birthday. It's all mounted, and I'm going to come in with my Coastal Cabana, and I'm going to stamp that. Then I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to mount wishes. And because I've tried this a couple times, I know pretty much where to put it. I'm going to bring it over and come down. I have birthday wishes. And now I'm going to die cut this through the Big Shot. Get my Big Shot back up. So here's my magnetic plate, acrylic plate, my banner, and another plate. I'm going to run that through. Now with my Stampin' Dimensionals, I'm going to take a couple dimensionals and I'm going to put one on either side here. Take those off. And I'm going to line that up right there. Now, the front is done, but I just have to do the inside. And I have yet another piece of Whisper White, which is cut 4 by 5 1/4. And then from that same Wish for Everything stamp set, I pre-mounted Wishing You a Happy Day. And of course I tested it to make sure that they were where they're supposed to be. And then I'm going to come down, straight down, straight up. And there it is, one shot, Wishing You a Happy Day. And last thing to do is attach this to my card. And there it is, straight down in the center. And because I used liquid glue, I can wiggle that around to make sure it's where I want it to be. And there we go. A nice little birthday card made with basically the best plaid stamp set. And I really do like this ribbon. I know you can't get it anymore, but you know me, if it's colors are the colors are current, I use it. You could certainly use a Coastal Cabana. You could use white. You could use the Granny Apple Green. You could use any color. You could use a different color to give it another pop. But so that's that card. And I will be sending it off as a thank you card. And hopefully it'll give my customer a little bit of inspiration when she goes to use her new set. If you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products I used, please contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. And if you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator with whom you work, let me know and I'll be glad to send you off a catalog. And while you're here on my YouTube channel, if you enjoyed this project, I'd really love it if you gave me a thumbs up, or if you subscribe to my channel so you can see all of my videos as they come up. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you back here with another project soon. Bye-bye.